And more from L'Equipe, Gab, they estimate that Erling Haaland, reported, will demand 30 to 35 million euros a season over 6 years in his new club for his new deal. They will also have to pay the new club, that is, 20 million euros each, for Mino Raiola as an agent commission, and for Alfie Allen as a father commission, I guess. Plus, of course, the 70 or 75 million euros, depending, of release clause. That's a 300 million euro package.
Yeah, but that's for 6 years. Although you know that after a couple of years, he's going to go knock on the door and say, hey, how about we extend this contract?
Yeah.
It's a ton of money. It is a ton of money. I mean, 40 million in commission. But then again, those figures that were leaked when he moved to Borussia Dortmund, I think it was 10 and 10, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If I'm not mistaken, right?
Exactly.
At some point, you see the enormous bargaining power. And if you just view this for a minute from Haaland's perspective, right? When he moved there, fee wasn't great. His salary isn't enormous, right? It's about 6 million. But crucially, he said, let me put this release clause in.
Exactly.
The money that's not going to go to Dortmund is going to go, to Mino, and it's going to go to my dad. Where do you think, when Alfie Haaland one day leaves us and goes to the great place in the sky, where do you think all this money's going to go?
Exactly.
It's going back to Erling.
Exactly.
I mean, these are enormous figures, and the one other point to make on this is, we talked about the caps on commissions to be paid in deals. Now, FIFA hoped to make this official by the fall of 2022. So it wouldn't affect the summer transfer market.
That's right.
Which is when that clause kicks in and is valid. So that'll be an extra incentive for them to move him this summer.
But Kylian Mbappe's numbers are similar, apart from the release clause because he's on a free. But it would be the same commission, more or less.
Mama Mbappe gets
Papa
40,
Mbappe and then
Papa and
the
Mama get between them, they share 40 million?
They would get high commission, maybe not as high as 40, but not far. Wages would be exactly the same. Length of the contract would be exactly the same. This is so for Real Madrid, for example, just quickly to go back on that, to sign them both is one 300 million package, and the other one would be around the 200 million package. So it's a 500 million euro package if you want to sign them both, which is huge, of course.
That's an extraordinary way to look at it. Jules, let's check in on Ousmane Dembélé's contract talks. Now he's being linked to Bayern, but only if Coman leaves.
Yeah, only if Coman leaves. Coman, who's on the contract until June 2023, but doesn't want to renew at the moment. So it's either you sell him this summer, or then he goes on a free like David Alaba did, last summer. Which
why doesn't he want to renew?
I don't know. I think certainly for Coman, I think the club feels that he wants, again, the demands are too high.
Is it that, or is it the fact that Sané's finally playing to his ability?
Because I think
Gnabry's sticking around. He doesn't want to be the third winger. Does he want?
I think he would play with Sané, and Gnabry would be the super sub. Certainly, that's the way Coman and his camp sees it. So, in that case, it looks to me that it's more about money.
Yeah.
And would Dembélé be the answer? I think Rummenigge is a huge fan. It would. He's on a free in the summer, which I think would be a really good deal for Bayern.
Because he's on stupid money now. I know.
No.
How much of a pay cut is he going to take? Because we're talking 20 million euros a year, right? So rather than giving that money to Dembélé, and that's if Dembélé doesn't take a pay cut.
Yeah.
I'd rather give it to Coman.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe not all of it, but part of it. Coman's already there. Nobody can do.
Yeah.
And they're roughly the same age, right?
Yeah. That's true. Gab, in the last show you told us that Christoph Piontek was on his way back to Serie A from Hertha Berlin. He still is, but it's not Genoa, it's Fiorentina. And does that mean that Dusan Vlahovic then is going to go and replace him? I mean, don't tell me you replace Vlahovic with Piontek, please.
Okay, well, it's really funny because, first of all, this is an old school hijack deal, right? So the Hertha negotiate with Genoa, he's released and everything, and Fiorentina are like monitoring it.
Yeah, listening
and
at the door.
Like, it's like, Krzysztof, come to us, not Genoa. We might have Champions League or at least Europa League next year, plus Florence is a nicer city than Genoa. Although there's no C, by the way, which is really important to some people. But the dude's Polish. He doesn't know what the C is.
Exactly.
Unless he's from Gdansk, in which case it's a cold gray C.
All right,
I digress. Back to Piontek. So it was really funny because people immediately put 2 + 2 together and said, oh, look, if they're getting Piontek, then that means that Vlahovic, they're ready to sell Vlahovic now in January. Fiorentina go out of their way, but like literally, the minute people speculate this, they start getting on the phones to transfer reporters and saying, no, not the case.
Not the case.
Because he's going to replace Corcoran, who people
he's
thought,
not doing well.
People kind of forgot Corcoran was even there.
Yeah,
Corcoran's
yeah.
this mystical figure at the club. Look, obviously Piontek cannot replace
Thank you.
Vlahovic.
Thank you.
But if he has to replace Corcoran, who literally does nothing, then Piontek can probably do nothing just as well.
Yeah, or
My understanding is that I think they probably would be okay with selling Vlahovic if they got 70, 75 million.
Yeah.
The problem is Vlahovic doesn't want to leave because it's not his interest. It's not his
Exactly.
interest. He's made it very clear, his agents have, by demanding that enormous commission. He's just going to run down his contract.
more Barca moves, according to media reports, Gab. Philippe Coutinho is willing to leave the club because he plays so much, of course, and provided there's a project. We love that word, project. Gab has been linked to Aston Villa, for example. Is that project good enough for him?
I don't know what to say in terms of project. He's come back.
Yeah.
He's proved his fitness. He's playing occasionally. He's in. He's out.
Yeah.
This is all the same. He's owed an enormous amount of money in the last 6 months of his contract. This is what it's all about.
Exactly.
Are effectively saying, hey, you can leave for free now, but he's not going to want to leave money on the table. So personally, if I were Coutinho, rather than the project, I'd take the next 6 months finding a project.
Yeah.
I think he's going to play occasionally because Dembélé is going to have his contractual issues. They got the kids. They're not bringing in many other people. I think, and then come back, be refreshed in the summer, and then look for the project.
Maybe,
There's no point in you moving now. I think unless you really find the project.
The project. Maybe he's with Stevie G, his former teammate. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a project. Yeah. Luka Dean is still at Everton, but everybody's taking for granted that he'll leave. Jules, how do you see it? And hey, let's mention Sven Botman too, right?
Sven Botman. Is it a similar situation? I think there's enough interest for Dean to go, and as we know, Everton signed Mikolenko.
30, 35 million. Those are the prices. That
can't happen.
That can't be right, right?
No, and I think they know it. I think maybe that's what they put out Everton, but I think when it comes down to negotiating, I don't think that'll be the price. I think a loan with an option to buy could be a decent option for a lot of clubs, whether that Chelsea, who are quite keen but haven't started talking at all to Everton, whether it's another club maybe in another country. I think he fell out with Benitez. So forget about, I think, this season because it hasn't worked out for him. Last season he was, I guess, already a bit on the way down compared to the standard I set before. But still, there's a really good player in there, French international. So I think a lot of clubs should be looking at him. For sure.
Is this one of those situations where if he stays at Everton for 6 months, he's going to start getting antsy and worried about going to the World Cup?
Yeah. Especially in that position where there's a lot, I mean, not that Benjamin Mendy is in the running anymore, but still there's a lot of talented left backs. And you're right, he could miss the train big time. Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.